Hello and welcome to Kerbal Space Program. I am Taki117 and this is going to be a sort of tutorial let's play for Kerbal Space Program. So this is the title screen. We got Jed, Bill, and Bob here floating around Earth. I am using a lot of mods, so please don't ask. There are a ton. If you want to know like a specific mod that I'm using, go ahead and ask for that mod, but please don't ask me to list them. Just too many of them. So, I have Jed, Bill, and Bob. I've modded my game so that I'm actually flying around a Kerbin-sized Earth with clouds. Down here in the bottom right corner, you can see I'm running version 1.1.3, 64-bit. And this is important for all of you people that want to install a mod or want to know what version of the game you have if someone asks. So, let's get started. Go ahead and hit start game. We're going to start a new game. As you can see, I can resume save or I can do some training or scenarios. Those are useful. I'm going to name this Taki Space Program because that's me. And it's a career mode. So in career mode, you have to manage funds, science, and your Kerbals. Pick a flag again because I have a lot of mods. I have a lot of flags. This one, though, is a personal flag that I made just for me. So, difficulty options. There's a lot of stuff you can change here. You can make it easier or harder just by moving the sliders. And they're all fairly self-explanatory. So, some additional rules, and according to this, in addition to this, all Kerbals will get a turn. There's not going to be any Kerbal that I fly that's going to just sit on the bench. No reverting flights, so I'm going to uncheck this. It says allow reverting flights. Also, Kerbals are going to stay dead. If a Kerbal dies, he's dead. He's not coming back. Nuclear devices are not to be fired in or disposed of on Kerbin, meaning I can't crash a nuclear-powered rocket into the surface of Kerbin, or in this case, Earth. There are nuclear engines in the game, and some of the mods I have add very large, very powerful nuclear reactors. Things falling on Earth are bad. No space debris. If it goes up, it must come down. Now, obviously, I can't do this all the time. There are just some rockets that I won't be able to put the debris in a decaying orbit, so it'll stay there for a while. Must provide additional living space for at least an additional 1/2 crew capacity, meaning if I have a mission that I want to send Kerbals on, I must have at least half again as much space as I do Kerbals. For example, if I'm sending 4 Kerbals on a mission, I need space for 6. No Kerbal goes alone. If I have a long duration mission, there must be at least 2 Kerbals on it. Long duration missions are basically anything out of Earth's sphere of influence. Apollo went to the moon, used 3 astronauts, so if I want to recreate an Apollo-like mission, I need at least 2 astronauts. No fuel is to be stored on any crewed station or base. If I want to have a refueling depot, it must be unmanned. This is for safety reasons. If something goes wrong and the station explodes, I'm not losing any Kerbals. There must be adequate escape vehicles on any manned station, meaning each crew member must have a way to escape the station in the event of an emergency. Let's say, the station is losing pressure, each Kerbal needs to have a way to get off that station. Any failed launch or landing involving a Kerbal, a minimum of 3 successful unmanned launches must be completed before the next Kerbal launch. So if I have a Kerbal and he dies on a mission during either the launch or landing phase, there must be 3 unmanned missions before I can send another Kerbal up. This is to allow mostly for testing, seeing what went wrong, and fixing the problem. If a Kerbal dies during a launch of landing due to failed equipment, a minimum of 5 successful launches must be completed prior to the next Kerbal launch. meaning if something goes wrong because equipment fails, there must be 5 unmanned launches before I send a Kerbal up. So that concludes my own personal rules. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'd be more than happy to answer. So, let's get started. This is going to take a minute to load this, again, because I have a lot of mods. So I'm disabling the remote tech signal delay because in real life there are scientists and programmers and the people at NASA program these rockets to work when there's not a signal. I'm not a programmer, I don't know how to do that. There is a mod called Kerbal Operating System that actually allows you to write programs. I don't have that mod, I don't like that mod, it's way beyond what I want to do. So I'm just going to disable the signal delay. I have a mod called Kerbal Construction Time. What this allows me to do is it actually takes time for my rockets to build. So I'm going to increase the rate at which my rockets build. I'm going to generate some science every time I build a rocket. And I'm going to develop some science, or my research tech nodes are going to be developed faster. So, this button up here is the warp to next morning button. You hit that, you enter time warp until, wait for it, the sun comes up. Hey, look at that. This just saves you from having to fly in the dark. It's a nice thing. So here we have the Kerbal Space Center, and mine is actually located, let's see if we can see it here. Nah, we'll get there in a minute. So, here's the Kerbal Space Center. You got your runway for launching planes, you have your space plane hangar for building planes. There's mission control where you accept contracts, you have your launch pad, launching rockets obviously, vehicle assembly building for building rockets, the tracking station which shows you your current flights, your research and development which allows you to see what technologies you've unlocked, your astronaut complex for hiring and firing astronauts, and your administration building that takes care of the day-to-day stuff. So, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to pop into mission control here. Yeah, oh, we have some new contracts. Oh, wow. So this is one of the other mods I have. Here we go. So this is all the contracts offered. I want the available contracts. So I need to launch a sounding rocket into the upper atmosphere. Must reach 50,000 meters. Seems pretty straightforward. So let's do that one. And then, I don't really like any of these. They're a little hard for me right now, and you'll see why here in a second. So we're done here. Up here are my funds. This is how much I can spend. This is my reputation. This is how well liked I am. Blue is pretty ambivalent. Yellow is I'm not very well liked at all. And green is I'm pretty well liked. And these are how many science points I have over here. And you use science points to unlock the tech tree. Now, this is another one of the mini mods I have. This is the historical progression tech tree. It is huge. This is going to take a while to unlock all of it. But we select the start node here, and you can see the technologies I've unlocked. Looks like I have some cameras, some heat shields, fuel tanks, some other stuff. Okay. So pretty basic. Oh wow, there's actually a lot more stuff here than I thought I had. Cool. So now I know what I'm working with. So to the vehicle assembly building, and I'm going to build a rocket. As soon as it loads. So here we have my Kerbal construction time timer popped up, and this is going to tell me how long it's going to take me to build this rocket. Oh, okay. Ooh, cool. So, first things first, I need a root part. Now, because I'm building a sounding rocket, I'm going to use one of these, and this is a very tiny payload strut. What is this? Oh, okay. So, it needs some command. So, here we have all of our part tabs. Things like fuel tanks, engines, structural things, things to make your rocket more aerodynamic, stuff like that. So, I have this payload truss. I need an avionics package, because I need to be able to control my rocket. Just pop that on there, and we're good. Now that's going to need some power. So, take a couple of these mini battery packs. X is the key I'm pressing to get this symmetry here. If you press T on one of the mods I'm using, actually enables or disables attachment. The one I'm looking for is R, and this toggles either mirror or rotational symmetry. Right now it really doesn't matter. I think I'm going to do mirror just because it's easy. Toggle that off. And I need some science. So first things first, I need one of these. Again, because I have a mod called Remote Tech, it's good. It requires me to have a way to communicate with the ground. And because I am going up to 50,000 meters, hopefully going up to 50,000 meters, I don't think I'm going to get there. I need a small antenna. Now this tool is the move tool, and I'm going to turn off my angle snap here, down at the bottom. See, it's off. Select that part and move it in a little bit. And that just makes it look pretty. I can also rotate it if I wanted to, but I don't need to. Here we go. Take these payload fairing, let's pop them on the side here. I need a parachute. I don't have, wow. Do I not have a parachute? Oh, there it is. Parachutes. Pop that on there. Now, this down here is my staging. When you hit the space bar, you activate staging, and it will perform whatever is in that block. So I'm going to hit the plus sign to create a new stage, and I actually want to deploy my side panels before I deploy my parachute. And go back up here to engines, and let's see how far I can go. So I need an upper stage motor. This one's going to push me a ways. At this point I'm kind of just fooling around with the engines I have. I don't like any of those, but I do have a... Where'd it go? I thought I had... Huh, I get... Oh wait, there it is. That's not gonna work. So, see down here, it's gonna take me 1 day and 15 hours and some minutes to build this rocket. But, I wanna make it better. This isn't helping. Ah, here we go. Oops. So I've just put a stack separator between this engine and the rest of my rocket. Can I shrink this down? I can. So, now that I've shrunk that down, I like the way that looks. I really do. Let's put some area. No, not do it. There we go. So this mod over here is a mod called MechJeb. I like it because it tells me my thrust to weight ratio, my surface launch thrust, my atmospheric delta V, and my vacuum delta V. And this is very important because this tells you how far your rocket can go. Not necessarily straight up, but just in general. So that's a nice rocket. It's got an average of about 1,000 delta V. So that should be good. So I'm going to add some fins on here. Ooh, I like those. And now comes something, a very important part of unguided rocket building. So I'm going to use the rotation tool. I'm going to turn off my angle snap again. And I'm going to rotate these just a little bit. That should be good. I'm going to do the same up here. We'll see what that does here in a minute. Let's put these launch sticks on here. Oops. So the spacebar allows you to reset the rotation, and to rotate these things, I'm using the W, A, S, D, Q, and E keys, trying to get them where I want. And they're not liking me a whole lot right now. That looks good. I'm going to name this Sound 1. Don't need you right now. We're going to save it, and we're going to build it. Build. So it'll take a couple of days. So we'll go back to our space center. There we go. And bring up our build list, and we'll just warp to complete. And we're time warping. It's counting down. And now we have to roll it out to the launch pad, and I'll take about 10 minutes. And we're just warping through all this. And this looks like it's going to be an early morning launch. So I'm just going to warp to the next morning, so we get a little bit more light. And we're going to launch our rocket. Now, I'm doing this all in real time, as far as recording goes. So what you're seeing are my actual load times. And for a fairly heavily modded game, these aren't really all that long. So here's my rocket, it's sitting on the pad, and I'm going to change some things here. And I'm actually going to scale down my nav bulb just a little bit more. So all these settings here adjust the size of the flight UI. There we go. Okay. So I have my orbit info. Again, this is from MechJeb, but my staging's off. So you have both my engines activating at the same time, and that's going to cause all sorts of mess. So I'm going to click that to add a new stage. I'm going to drag that booster down there. Add another stage, drag my separator, oops, there. And actually, I want to separate and ignite my second stage engine at the same time. So I'm going to do that. Alright, so this is the map. And as you can see, it is actually the Earth. There's the moon. And I am at Cape Canaveral, Florida. And this is where the United States launches a large majority of their rockets from. You get to the map screen by pressing M. M also takes you back to the launch pad. So, 3, 2, 1, and liftoff. Now, as you can see, my rocket just started spinning because I turned those fins earlier, and this is actually keeping it fairly stable. There goes the first stage. I'm going to let it slow down just a little bit before igniting my second stage engine. And there goes the first stage. Second stage has burned out. And it doesn't look like I'm going to make my goal. But you know what? That's okay. So I'm going to go ahead and blow those panels off. And there they go. Whee! And see if I can't click my science. And I'm going to record some data. I'm going to keep that experiment. And I'm going to adjust my minimum pressure. Now, for parachutes, at least on Kerbin, it's always a good idea to turn them all the way up. That will deploy them at about 3 kilometers. You don't want to deploy them going too fast. You also don't want to deploy them when you're too high, otherwise they will be destroyed by either aerodynamic forces or heat. So I'm going to hit space to arm that. And now we wait. So I'm going to go ahead and warp through this. Now this is physical warp. It is calculating physics while also speeding up time. Ooh, there's some explosions down there. You don't really ever want to do physics warp with large rockets. It doesn't end well. There's plenty of videos on YouTube. Okay, so about 4,000 meters, my parachute is deployed. And if we look here, it's going to fully deploy at 700 meters. So I'm just going to go ahead and warp to there. Look at that beautiful Florida. Doo-doo-doo. So, sounding rockets are great for atmospheric and low space observations. You launch them up in a ballistic arc, which if we look at our map, we can kind of see here. See right there. And they go up, they do their experiments, they come back down under parachute, you recover them, and you analyze the data. They're small, they're unmanned, and most importantly, they're cheap. They can be used for anything from atmospheric density to weather to really just about anything involving the atmosphere. Oh, there goes my parachute. I forgot to slow down time warp for that, but it's okay. These things happen. And we're coming down. We're about 500 meters from the surface. It's getting pretty close. And here we are, just west of the Kennedy Space Center. Now, why are we west? We launched east. Well, we launched straight up, but it's beside the point. What happened was the Earth rotated underneath us by quite a bit. So we need to remember this when we launch things next. And here we go. 25 meters. And touchdown. So our rocket is safely on the surface. We can hover up here. And there's 2 buttons. You can go to the Space Center or we can recover the vessel. We want to recover the vessel. And that will give us an amount of funds, some science, maybe some other things too. maybe a little bit of rep, but we didn't complete our contract, and that's okay. We're still learning. So, oh look, we got 9.2 science this mission, so we earned a total of 17 science. And we recovered about 1,000 funds. So we made a little money. Now, we're going to spend that science on research and development. And I need to unlock wings. Wings are nice. This gives me wings control surfaces. Things I need to control my rocket, basically. And this gives me some more structural stuff. So, that's always nice to have. And up here it's telling me how long it's going to take to unlock. I have 15 science left. What do I want next? Could do some fuel tanks. Ooh, these look fun. More fuel tanks. Looks like bigger rockets. I like that. So we'll research that. This gives me some batteries, some lights, more science parts. Those are always good. Ooh, and some basic flight control. So I've spent all my science. It's going to take some time to research, which I'm just going to fast forward through. There's really no point. But each time I purchase a tech node, I get an upgrade for Kerbal construction time. So I'm going to build my rockets a little faster. I'm going to research a little more science per rocket. And I'm going to unlock my tech just a little bit faster. Click here. Looks like they're all going to complete about the same time. So I'm going to warp to them. Warp to that. Warp to this. Oh, taking forever. Warp to that. And there we go. So, that concludes this episode. I hope you learned something. And next time, we'll build our second rocket, and hopefully we'll be able to complete this contract to get to 50,000 meters. So, I'm Taki117, signing off.